Howdy everybody, it's Pappy Two Bears again. I'm glad you can join me. And I'm wondering if you might be interested in taking a little journey with me as I prepare to embark on a project that I've been looking so forward to for quite a while. As many of you may have known perhaps from previous videos or me talking about it, for years I've had a teepee in my backyard. And this year that teepee was just a no-go. It had worn out from being up for so long that I had to retire it. Well, I'm all excited to show you a new one that I just received. And as you can tell, it doesn't look like much right now. But this teepee that is coming in is one that's made by other people. And this is made by a company out in Montana called Reliable Tent and Teepee. And it is built with the help of the Crow Nation. And this is going to be a Crow-style teepee that I'll be putting up, made out of 15-ounce canvas. This will be my first canvas teepee that I'm putting up. The other one I had was made out of tarps. And because it was made out of tarps, it was pretty well waterproof. This one's going to take a little more work than that. But boy, the preparation for this was quite a journey so far. All of the poles for this teepee, I've taken days and days and days to prepare. And the poles that I've had to cut almost 2 feet off the length of those poles because this teepee is quite a bit smaller than the one that I had before. I had a 16-footer before. This one is going to be a 12-footer. For me, this teepee is more than just a tent in the backyard. The area that I'm going to be putting this in, where it's setting right now, is my sacred spot. This is a place that I go to meditate, a place that I go to do prayers, a place that I go to do healing ceremonies. So the teepee becomes a lodge for me, a sacred place. And so for me, it's a spiritual journey. It's going to take a little while for it to get into place. There's quite a bit that needs to be done. And if you're interested in following along with me as I go through, I'll try to take you through the steps. This teepee, by the time it gets done and up, will be completely painted and set up with the fire in the center of the teepee. Now, I talk a lot about spirituality. For me, this is not a religious experience at all, but it's all about the spirit and the spirit of everything. And I ask everyone to try to live their life and walk their steps as if each step is a prayer. Each step is a realization of the spirits around you and where you fit into it. You know, within the teepee itself, everything has significance. There's a lot of teachings that native cultures have used, from the number of poles they've used to the direction that they were placed to all kinds of things. And that just brings up a good point. You know, everything in life can be utilized as a teaching to remind us of Creator and where our place is in Creator and in Creator's creation. And if you look at things that way, then everything that you do can become a prayer of appreciation for the creation, a prayer of appreciation for where you are in creation. So what I have to do now, I've done pretty much what I need to do on the 12 poles that I need for this particular teepee. Now I have 19 poles. But the 16-footer that I used before needed more poles, and of course they had to be longer. All of these poles that you see are all poles that I individually went out and cut myself out of the local woods here, and they were all dead standing trees. I cut no live trees for this. But because this was so important to me, each of those poles that I cut, I left an offering for as a thank you. All the poles have to have all the branches cut off, all of the knots cut down and sanded flush. Then all of the poles had to be sealed and stain to protect them from the weather. I even painted the tips of the teepee poles that are going to be exposed to the weather, unlike the other portions which will be inside of the cover, and they're protected from the weather, so they don't rot away. But I have spare poles in case I break some more because they do get brittle after a while. But surprisingly, a teepee, when it's put up, is very stable in the wind. I'll be talking about door orientation and different things as I go through the making of the teepee process to give you an understanding of why things are done in the way that they're done. But basically, you can get into a lot of stories about teepees if you do your own research, and there's a lot of different teachings from different cultures. But for me, it's a combination of being pragmatic and useful, and also being a place of spirituality for me. It does not necessarily follow any cultural lineage. In other words, this is not the cut and dried and fast way to do it, although there are some steps that have been learned over the ages that have made it easier to erect one of these types of lodges. So I ask you to join me as I go through. My next step will be the unboxing of the teepee that you see in the box in front of me, and I'll have to lay that teepee out. The tripod which you see standing now, I erected based on measurements. It may or may not fit this cover that I have. So I'll have to take this cover and lay it out on the ground, lay the poles down on the ground again, measure them according to the actual cover that I have, and then retie them. And they'll form the basis for the other poles to be laid in. So stand by as I go through the making process of the teepee. This is all weather dependent, of course. You know, I'll have follow-up videos to this one, but we've got to start someplace, and we might as well start from right where you're at. Have a good day, everyone. This is Pappy Two Bears, and I hope that you come back and walk with me again soon.